Here's just a little demonstration video on how to fit up a Scandic belt drive kit. Scandic engine plates fitted, and we must advise that you use proper strong bolts and some very high tensile good washers behind here to give it a real good clamp. With a belt drive, vibration is transferred into the clutch, and if you have poor bolts or lightened bolts with little heads, they don't clamp well enough, and you may encounter some vibration which will give you drag at the start. So that's a very important point. The triangle here is fitted to the center bolt, and I'd like to suggest that you, with this countersunk bolt, use some strong 263 Loctite that will make it stay there, and you would never want that to come undone, as you can't get to it without taking everything off, so it should never come off again. So make sure you Loctite that. We've done that here, and the same goes for the backing plate. These two spaces, they should be Loctited with these two countersunk bolts so that they don't come off. They will make a fair bit of damage to the back of the clutch if they come loose. So we slide the backing plate over the center bolt there, and the top spacer I do up with a hex bolt, normal hex head, and because you can easily get to that up here with a spanner. The bottom one is an Allen key head which you can access through the right hand side engine plate with an Allen key to do up. Okay, so make sure they're all done up hard every time, and the same with this one, of course. Done up as close as can, and these could be done hard. Should never come undone. Now the backing plate, when fully fitted, actually moves inwards at the front here and outwards at the back, giving a little more space for the rear chain, and therefore don't ever start the engine without that being pushed in. Use a socket or a bush, whatever you may have, to bring the backing plate in the last couple of millimeters. When you do this up, it actually moves into its spot, and that gives you the space that you need to put your C-clips on. Put a little bit of grease on both the C-clips on the inside, so when you put them in here, they stick to the shaft and they stay there. Next, top that spacer and put the clutch on the shaft. And move it out again about halfway. Then you can lay the belt over the clutch like that, and lay the pulley into the belt. Now you'll be able to softly put the pulley onto the shaft. Oh, that was one of the C-clips fell off. That was a good point. You've got to make sure that doesn't fall off, of course. So belt over the clutch again, pulley into the belt, move it in a little bit, see if you can get it on the shaft. Sometimes it can be quite difficult to find the spline. Found it pretty good there. And then move these two in at the same time, and all the way over the C-clips. Make sure nothing's fallen out, and all the way in there. Put the camshaft nut on, and get your tools to hold it and do it up hard, of course. Now, very importantly, this circlip, you have to make total sure that it gets into the groove, not just halfway. It has to go all the way into the groove, and you feel that it turns. It's actually in the groove. So that's good and solid. and move now the belt towards the back of the clutch so it's in the right position. Tension wise, the belt moves about 10 to 15 millimeter up and down at cold situation, and it's really quite hard to touch the top of the backing plate. So that's a cold situation. It's general that on the first couple of starts when your bike settles and everything that this will become tight, so don't go out racing without having done a couple of practice starts and so on and check the belt again. It should never be tight. When you come back from a race, it will be close to tight, I'd say something like that, and after 5 minutes of the heat dissipating it will again become 10 millimeters, and that'll be perfect. Once that is set and you've had a meeting of it being constant where you want it, it won't change again until you remove the engine. It will stay for 40, 50 meetings if the engine could last that long. So it is constant, it never stretches. The belt is the same from start to finish. So you can finish by fitting up the clutch, and a recommendation that I would give you is to put a little bit of Loctite 222, it's very light, onto these studs before you fit your clutch at home. It actually stops the springs and the nuts changing your adjustment while you're racing, because it is easy to adjust still. The Loctite doesn't bind it very hard, but it stops it moving without you wanting it, so your screwdriver will still work perfectly. That's that fitted. You can now remove the bush or socket and fit the black cover, and when you just give it a squeeze at either end it should move onto the taper and stay there. And do up the nut, you're away. Now I'll also show you the dismantling of it, just to make a couple of points. Remove the face plate. Remove a couple of plates so you can get your tool in there to hold the clutch when you're undoing the camshaft nut. So undo all of that and remove the circlip. This can be quite tricky again because it usually flies all over the shop. There you go. Go off in the end. And then I pull out the clutch off the shaft and push the belt off the back. Move it out again and push the belt to the back of the clutch. There you go. And then you can remove the belt, and this will give you a good hold on the pulley. Don't use screwdrivers or whatever to push it off, but pull it here and it should come off. Maybe the first couple of times it'll be a bit hard because the tolerance is made to be tight so it wears in. So remove the pulley and the C-clips, and that's pretty much it. You're ready to do a bit of clean. Remove the top hat, and I would say this is the procedure you do after every meeting, as it needs to be properly cleaned. And finally, these two bearings here, they're really quite expensive, but they will last the whole season if you look after it. Don't ever get pressure cleaner on here. They are dust tight, dirt tight, but they're not watertight, so water will get in and it will rust your bearing. So wash it in hot soapy water and all back together again, ready to race. Good luck.